Hello world and welcome back. I'm late again. That's fine. Moving on. I am so excited about this month. I'm halfway through the month and I'm still excited about it. I, once again, was struggling so much with trying to figure out what theme I wanted to do. And part of the struggle is that I really want to focus on doing themes that I'm excited about this year. And if I don't feel excited about something, like not pushing myself to do something just because I have to have a theme or whatever. So anyway, I was struck by inspiration and I am honestly so happy with how this has turned out and I'm really excited to be talking about it. So here you go. My March theme for my bullet journal is Lolita fashion, also called English Lolita. And okay, collect my thoughts. I don't have anything prepared for this. I have a general idea of what I want to talk about, but this is probably going to be a mess. So I apologize for that. I'll start off by saying that I'm not totally thrilled with how the cover page looks. I had this idea to do an anatomy of a Lolita coordinate, as you can kind of see here. My drawing skills are not up to where I would want them to be. See, I didn't even try and draw shoes. I had this sticker that was perfect. I just used that. But I don't love how it looks, and we're gonna ignore the fact that I misspell a word much later on in the video. Just not even gonna think about that. Because I was so inspired as I was putting this layout and the whole month together, and that's what I want to focus on. Also, I've actually been using my journal, not as much I think as last month, but I've been using it and I've been enjoying using it, which is also what matters. So let's talk a little bit about this theme. Most of the setup is the same stuff that I've been doing for months at this point. It's very straightforward. If you have a question, please feel free to leave it down in the comments. I'll provide commentary where I think is appropriate, but in general, we're just going to talk about the theme because I'm really excited about it. Okay. So, for those who are not familiar, Lolita, or English Lolita, is a Japanese street fashion that was actually started in about the 1980s, I think. And it's a general aesthetic inspired by Victorian English, think of a Victorian doll, and you've got the fashion more or less. There's all kinds of different styles within Lolita fashion. I can touch on those in a little bit. The main thing that you're going to see in Lolita fashion is a similar silhouette in terms of proportions of an outfit, and a Lolita cord or coordinate is always going to have an element of balance to it, which is something that it's one of the first things that really drew me to it. It's beautiful fashion, but I was really drawn to this idea of balance, where it's not just about the dress or core piece that you're wearing. It's about how you accessorize that. It's about what you're wearing in your hair, how you have your hair fixed, jewelry, having some balancing element for your wrists, having some sort of balancing element for your shoes and socks or tights, whatever. Just really having every dimension covered to create a look. It's not just a dress or a signature piece. It's an entire look top to bottom. And I really love that. It really works for me. I really love it. I say all this. I haven't worn Lolita fashion in years. I own 2 dresses. One of them is like my honestly, they're both dream dresses. I can throw them up on the screen and maybe talk about them a little bit. I don't know. This one is called Birthday Squirrel. This is actually still available. You can get this now. This is from a more inexpensive brand called Bodyline. And I will do my best to link things down in the description. And then the other dress that I have is a Beauty and the Beast inspired dress from actually a Korean Lolita brand called Haenuli. I love Haenuli's prints. So diving a little bit further into the fashion, the number one thing that anyone who doesn't know about Lolita asks about is if it has anything to do with Nabokov's work. It does not. There's a lot of differing opinions as to where the name comes from, but because of the unfortunate connection to Nabokov, that's why, like, don't ever search for the hashtag Lolita on Instagram or something. Search for English Lolita or EGL or Lolita Fashion Community, anything like that. But if you search for Lolita, you're going to find other stuff that we're not going to talk about. Okay. So another thing that, please appreciate my mistake here. Another thing that I really like about Lolita is like the craftsmanship that goes into the pieces. Like a lot of it starts with a core piece that's most commonly a dress. You can do other things. There's like other styles of Lolita that are not just dress centric. But it starts there, and brands will come out with a print. The print is typically available in multiple colorways. The print will be used in different styles of dress. We'll get to that in a second. And it's almost always a very limited run. So like there's this artificial scarcity element. The evils of capitalism is not something that I feel equipped to address at this particular moment, but that is definitely a very big theme in the fashion. And the dresses are very often, not universally, but very, very commonly what would qualify as couture, because they are handmade in like small batches. And because there's this very limited quantity, it can be very hard to get a hold of your dream dress. So years and years and years ago, like I've never been fully into the Lolita community, but years ago when I was sort of like on the outskirts of this like fashion community, it was a very big thing to like find your dream dress and like be spending upwards of like $600 to $1,000 just to get a hold of maybe a discontinued dress that like you've always wanted, things like that. So that's the sort of thing that you find in any hobby, I think. What I was saying though, what I really like is this element where there's a lot of craftsmanship that goes into the pieces themselves, and they're very high quality. They're basically an heirloom piece. They're gonna last for a very long time, and they're exquisite. They're absolutely exquisite. Into the pieces themselves, I mentioned there's different sort of styles. There are, well, no, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm sorry. I'm just really excited about this. So like I said, this is a fashion movement that started in Japan in about the 1980s. And another fun fact that I absolutely love about this, and is the reason that I will like defend this tooth and nail. Lolita fashion started as a counterculture, like extremely feminist movement, fighting back against patriarchal, misogynistic ideas of womanhood and how women should present themselves and behave. And it can seem a little funny because it most commonly Lolita is like very cute. There's a lot of frills. There's a lot of like traditional femininity. regardless of the gender of the person wearing it. There's like very commonly this theme, and it comes from this place of owning the look and like saying, I don't care what anyone else thinks, particularly not a man. I'm gonna dress how I want to, and if that is looking like a Victorian doll, then that's how I'm gonna dress. So I really love that. I'll link the Wikipedia article, which has links to other resources and a couple of the other resources that I found to like remind myself of this stuff. Like I said, I haven't worn Lolita in years. I still have my 2 dresses, but I haven't worn them in a long time. What I was adding to the previous page that I will touch on is there's a lot of different aesthetics within Lolita fashion. What I wear most commonly and what you're going to see most often is something called Sweet Lolita or Bittersweet Lolita. Sweet Lolita is like a lot of pastel colors, candy, flowers, very cute things, very like traditionally feminine. And Bittersweet is those same elements but on a dark canvas. So the dress that I have, the birthday squirrel dress, is Bittersweet. Another aesthetic that I particularly like a lot is Classic, which is more understated, a little bit more reserved, maybe more mature, very vintage color palettes and elements. I just like it. It's pretty. Another of probably the most popular Lolita aesthetic is Gothic Lolita, which is fairly self-explanatory. Not all black necessarily, often very black, but you can incorporate some colors in there. Just like, it's like Gothic vibes, you know, like a little creepy, a little spooky. And then another aesthetic, what was the other one that I had in my bullet journal? Another one that I really like is Hime Lolita or Princess Lolita, which is the closest aesthetic to the Beauty and the Beast coordinate that I have. What you're going to see in a Hime Lolita is like pristine elegance and something that is evocative of royalty. So like a lot of tiaras, a lot of like perfect hair. My hair was not perfect, but you know, like close. Something that ties into royalty and princesses, things like that. There's basically any aesthetic that you want to create in Lolita, you can. Lolita is not strictly for like women, obviously, and it doesn't have to be hyper feminine. There are masculine aesthetics within Lolita and more broadly within Japanese street fashions. I don't know as much about those, but there is some stuff about those in some of the links that I have, so you can go and learn more about those. I am a really, really big fan of Lolita fashion, and I was so excited. I think I had this idea a long time ago, but I wasn't sure how I wanted to execute it, and then it just all clicked, and I got it all together. Now we're gonna get into the different like core pieces that you're gonna find most commonly. So the one that I have is Birthday Squirrel is called a JSK, which stands for jumper skirt. It's basically a sleeveless dress that you would wear a shirt or blouse underneath. Next is a skirt, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a skirt. It's going to be much more high-waisted than like a traditional skirt. And lastly, you have what's referred to as an OP, which stands for one piece or one piece dress. That would be the Beauty and the Beast dress that I have. You would still obviously wear some kind of shirt underneath a dress like that, but the shirt is not as big an element of the overall look of the outfit. Something that is just like a standard practice in Lolita is wearing Like, it's not just the exterior that's part of the outfit, it's the interior is part of the outfit too. And almost always when you see a Lolita coordinate, there is no part of the like core piece, whether that's a JSK, an OP, or skirt, that's going to be touching the person wearing it. These are things that people who are into Lolita fashion like take care of like a child. Like I said, these are treated like they're heirloom pieces, honestly. So there's always things underneath to like protect the fashion elements from actually touching your skin. The other thing that I can probably talk about a little bit, that I'm not super well versed in, but is important to mention in any discussion about Lolita fashion, is the brands. Much like with any type of fashion thing, there are like very famous, well-known brands. There's indie brands, there's small brands, there's all kinds of things. So I chose the logos of a couple of my favorite brands, based just on like, I like a lot of the pieces that these people make. And I use those in my monthly setup. Those were a couple of things you saw earlier in the spread. The brands that I selected were Hainuli. Like I mentioned, I love them. They do a lot of, how do I even describe it? Like, gothic? Yeah, they have a lot of gothic patterns, like a lot of like slightly creepy stuff. I love it. It's gorgeous. And the other one I chose is Alice and the Pirates, which is a subset of Baby the Stars Shine Bright, which is a much more well-known brand. Baby is one of the like the big two. The other one being Angelic Pretty. Honestly, I've never been a huge fan of Angelic Pretty designs. Like, they're fine, but none of them have like especially called to me. Because I'm a hipster, I guess, gravitate towards smaller brands like Hainuli. Hainuli's like, people wear it, but it's a much smaller brand. I really like Metamorphos because they've done a couple of squirrel-related prints. Like, I personally am much more about the designs that I like, the prints and the overall dress designs that I like, rather than following a specific brand. That's me personally. Absolutely nothing against people who are brand loyal within Lolita. I can completely understand it, because often a given brand will have a certain aesthetic, whether that's in design or the types of prints that they do, things like that, and I can completely understand that. So that's another big element to it. There's like, honestly, I'm not even going to try and speak to where the Lolita community is at now, because I have no concept. I barely had a concept of it back when I was in it. And again, like I said, I was never fully in it. I was always very on the tertiary of it. I had friends who were very big into Lolita, and I was interested in the fashion. I didn't wear it often. I only have 2 dresses. And I didn't take a lot of opportunities to wear them. But it's something that's been fun, but not more than that. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Anyway, yeah, I really cannot speak to what is going on in the community now, where it's at. Something that was happening a lot, or from my perception, there we go, was starting to happen a lot at the time that I was tertiary to the Lolita community, was a lot more open discussion about diversity in the Lolita community. And something that I saw when I went on Instagram to like see if the tags that I had been familiar with back in the day were still relevant, is a lot more diversity, like diversity of body size, diversity of skin tone, diversity of gender. And that was really amazing to see. So I can't comment on it necessarily, because I have not made any attempts to involve myself in the community thus far. and I probably won't, let's be honest, but just like going in and taking a quick look, having a little bit of familiarity with where it was in like the early 2010s, it looks like things have been changing for the better. So that's a thing. Feel free to go and do your own research. Or if, you know, you happen to be into Japanese street fashion and or Lolita fashion, comment down below and we can be friends and we can talk about brands. That would be a good time. Do I have other things that I can talk about? I don't think so. I think that's really pretty much it. So we're just about done here with my monthly setup. I think the next thing that we're going to do is the flip through of the month. You can see those brand logos like I mentioned. At some point, I will use up my sticker collection. At some point. That point was not today, apparently. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Like I said, I'm just really excited that I managed to piece this together and that it felt right and that I could like talk about this. So thank you very much for watching. Comment down below, of course, and I will talk to you all later. Thank you.